Om Gurave Namaha. Hari Om. Om Gurave Namaha. Hari Om. Guru Guru Hari Om. Hari Om. Om Gurave Namaha. Om Gurave Namaha. Nim Karoli Baba. Om Gurave Namaha. Nim Karoli Baba. Om Matri Gurave Namaha. Shri Siddhima. Om Matri Gurave Namaha. Shri Siddhima. Om Hum Hanumate Namaha. Om Hum Hanumate Namaha. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Jena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ajnanatirandhasya Nananjananjalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gurur Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurudeva Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Para Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jana Moolam Gurumurti Puja Moolam Guru Padam Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa Hari Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Kripa Karo Gurudeva Inai Sitaram 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 Jai Jai Sitaram Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Kripa Gurudeva Kinai Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Jai Jai Sita Ram Jaya Jaya Hanuman Jaya Jaya Guru Om Shri 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 Bhavanim Karoli Santa Maharaj Ki Jai Shri 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 Jagatambe Siddhi Ma Ki Jai. Right before we started, Ramdev, who is a very, very old friend of mine, and who's leading the Dharma circle at, I think it's 4, I'm not sure, came up to me and he said, Jai, what is Bhakti Circle? What are you doing? Curious. And as always, it took me a moment to answer, to, be able to answer. And how I answered was, a couple of years ago, I was doing a workshop, and it was a small group, it may be 30 people, and I didn't like calling it a workshop, because, I don't know, it just has so many, it's not bad connotations, but connotations that were not what I was feeling. And I felt that everybody who came to this circle brought with them a lifetime of experiences, some very, very, very beautiful experiences, and of course some very, very painful experiences, because that's what human life encompasses. And each person who came to the circle also had their own idea. What is spirit? What is the infinite? What is God? What is Guru? What is Goddess? And everybody, everyone completely different. And then everybody had their own longings living in their own hearts. Everybody came not to me for something, but everybody lives with a longing for fulfillment. And some of us think of that as a longing for God. Some of us think of it as a longing for Guru. Some of us think of it as a longing for a soulmate. In a way, it's all very, very similar. And so I understood that I was just one of all of us in the circle. And I usually enjoyed or chose, I guess, to say to the group exactly what I was feeling that day. And sometimes I feel really great, and sometimes I feel awful. And sometimes the great feelings have there's a reason I feel great because of. And sometimes they don't. And sometimes my anxious, lost feelings have a real reason. Something happened. And sometimes I cannot find a reason. But it's who I am, and it's all who we are in the circle. So that was kind of the birth of the concept of, Bhakti Circle, if anybody had any questions. And so, and then what that turns into, you never know. I certainly don't come with a prepared set of things. But I did want to share one story because I thought about it last night, and I mentioned it to Raghu, and it was a very, amazingly pivotal moment for me. And I was in India. This was. Oh, by the way, you guys all know David. David Estes is my dear friend, and he's a beautiful musician, and he's also the creator of Ragamala harmoniums, which are my. This is not that, which are my most famous. I'm losing my words. My most favorite harmoniums that I've ever played. So. But anyway, so I was talking to Raghu last night, and I said it was about, I think maybe 3. Now it's like, it's usually BC or before Christ and after Christ. Now it's before COVID and after COVID. So I think it was like 3 years before the pandemic. Nubia and I and Ezra were in India, and Ezra is our boy, and we were in Maharaji's temple in Kainchi. And Siddhima asked me, would I sing 11 Hanuman Chalisas every afternoon in the courtyard? And, with a microphone and stuff. And she'd asked me this. I'd done it a bunch of other times. And, she's asked Krishnadas to do it. It's not like it was extra, strange or unique that she asked me to do it. And, of course, even though I didn't want to, I said, yeah. Because that's what you say to your Divine Mother. So anyway, so I started singing, and at the end of the first day, Siddhima said, "That was beautiful, Jay." She called me Jay Gopal. She says, "That was beautiful," and I said, "Thank you," because if you get a compliment from someone who you revere and have so much feeling for, the compliment is just such a beautiful thing. But so 7 days passed, and each day I sang the 11 chalisas, and Siddhima praised me. But my experience, as I was singing them, I never, maybe for seconds here and there, I never got past this super self-consciousness. I felt that everyone, because it was like only 4 or 5 Westerners in the temple, it was all Indians, and I felt like everyone was walking by looking at me like, who's that guy singing Hanuman Chalisas? And I felt my voice wasn't good, and I felt, I was in India and I had an upset stomach, duh, and I just didn't feel like anything was happening. I was doing what I was asked to be done. But so at the end of the week, I went up to Siddhima and I said, "Ma, I have to tell you, I feel like a fraud." And she kind of looked like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, this whole week, I'm sitting there singing Hanuman Chalisas, and I didn't feel a thing." And she looked at me and very lovingly, but also, powerfully, she said to me, "What does it matter what you're feeling, Jagopal?" And, I'm like, what? Aren't I the center of my universe? And she said, you're doing your service. And she said, so many Westerners think that seva, service, is eating an Indian sweet and blissing out under a tree. And she said, for us, service is often filled with hard work and very often filled with worry. That was her word. And I'm still digesting that. But it flipped. There's many times in life where, reality kind of readjusts in a certain kind of way. And this is one of those moments where how could I do my devotional practice, which is what I do. It's strange that I make a living at it. I never planned or thought that would happen, but that's awesome. But how could I really understand that what I'm doing is service when I'm always concerned with, what am I feeling, and how am I feeling okay, and am I in the groove, am I in the pocket, am I singing good, I'm feeling Maharaji, all those things that how do I look, do people like me, and the millions of things that go through one's mind. How not, previously it was like, how do I stamp out those feelings? But now it was like, whatever. What I'm doing isn't about me. So I'm not saying that I've fully, absorbed that awareness, because I haven't. But I think about it so often. And then I looked around the temple, which, mostly old people, but not totally old people who were living there. And everybody was doing their job, whether that was polishing the brass or whether it was sitting in front of Durga and singing the Durga Chalisa, or whether it was sitting in one corner reciting, with the Srimad Bhagavatam and singing Srimad Bhagavatam, or whether it was over by Hanuman singing 24-hour Hanuman Chalisas, or whether it was making the tea and distributing the tea, or whether it was cooking the food and distributing the food, whether it was walking the two dogs, whatever job that each person had, they were doing for the other. They were doing to either for the visitors who were coming, or for God, or for Guru, or for the fellow ashram residents. They weren't doing it for themselves or their own, enlightenment or their own spiritual advancement. They were doing it to make everyone else feel better. And I looked at these old people and I was like, I had it wrong, I guess. And it was so beautiful to be pointed in that direction, And then another thing, so I've been singing kirtan, and I met Maharaji when I was 19, and I'm 73 now, and so this whole path of Maharaji, it's been my whole life, really, my whole adult life. But then, 19 years ago, I never expected that I would be a father. I never desired to be a father. I never thought that I could possibly do any good as a father. My own family was a little messed up, and it was just not my thing. And then lo and behold, Nubi and I had a baby, and suddenly this baby was Gopala to me. His middle name is Gopala, my middle name is Gopala, but he was not just my son, whose name is Gopala. He was Gopala. He was this divine baby Krishna in our midst, and everything that we did was for him. We were probably overbearing parents, but this was what it was about. And once again, I was not the center of the universe, and my spiritual feelings, my feelings of love, not just to my baby, but to Maharaji, to Hanuman, they just expanded and expanded and expanded, because it wasn't about me again. We forget so much, and what a beautiful thing is that we can be together to remind each other. But I forget, but for that couple of years, it was so palpable. I was living for the well-being of this being. I still am, but he's forcing me not to be too intense about it. Call me sometimes. But don't you say that to God also? Call me sometimes. So, I could talk about Bhakti, but probably the biggest lessons in Bhakti weren't in any temple, and weren't even necessarily singing any prayers. They were life experiences which I never ever made an effort to serve, because it's not in my nature, but where service blossomed out of me by grace, I guess you could say. I'm a lazy bum, and I think about what I'm feeling all the time. How am I feeling? Dr. Rick, am I feeling good? Got any homeopathic? Well, I'm so lucky that my wife still loves me, because I'm such a complainer. But occasionally, I feel this sense of big heart and wanting to give it to others. So I certainly want to see, not this moment, but I'm hoping that there's some questions and we can have some dialogue. But before we do that, let's sing a little bit more. Let's sing. You were my captive audience for 10 minutes. It's so awesome. That reminds me also, I'll just share, it's just another thing. I had such a difficult relationship with my father my whole life. Then, as he was dying, he had AIDS and he was dying, but he didn't have any physical problems. He was fine for a long time. But he lost his ability to communicate. He was completely present, completely present. But just could get a few words out. And I always wondered if my dad liked my music and wished he did. So here was my opportunity. He couldn't turn on the radio or the TV, and he couldn't turn me off. So for 3 weeks I sang for him, and the decades and decades of fear and trauma just washed. It was just so amazing because I could sing my heart to him, and I think he loved it, but I'll never really know. I think I know the answer to this question, but I feel like obliged to ask. Is there anybody here who has never sung kirtan? If there are, hold your hand. Hold it high so I can see. That's so beautiful. Okay, so then just very, very briefly, kirtan is repetitive singing of mantras, and the mantras that primarily are names of the divine, names of God, names of Goddess. And it's a practice from ancient India, but it has resonances and I think practices from every nature-based culture, Africa, Brazil. There are call and response singing and devotional celebration as well as invocation. It's not unique to India, but in this particular form, we sing Sanskrit mantras and often, again, not always, but often I sing a line, the quote leader, unquote, will sing a line, and you'll sing it back, and I'll sing a line, and you'll sing it back. And the last thing to be concerned about, unfortunately I'm often concerned about this, is what we sound like. And it's more like digging into the heart with these melodies. And my begging everybody is to try to not be, to be uninhibited as much as possible in the singing. Because in life, here at least in the US, we have listeners and we have singers. And that dividing line is never crossed. But in kirtan, that line isn't there. And I just ask that handful of people who've never done this before, just see what happens. And kirtan is kind of fun to just watch for 5 or 6 minutes. Then it's extremely boring. But if you involve yourself in it by singing, it's like fascinating as can be. So the mantra I want to sing with you all is I sang last night, but I'll do it with a little different melody. The first word is Shri.
Shri.
Let's all say that. Shri.
Shri.
And Shri is one of the names of the Divine Mother, the Divine Goddess. Shri. The second word is Ram.
Ram.
Well, let's all say it. Ram.
Ram.
And Ram, in a simplest meaning, is God. So we're singing Goddess, God. Ram has a little bit extra more energy for me because this is what Maharaji said all the time under his breath, or when he got quiet, he'd say Ram, 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 and he'd say, when you say the name of Ram, the impossible becomes possible. So this has been kind of like my root anchor since I met Maharaji in late 1971. So those are the first two words. Let's say them together. Shri,
Shri
Ram.
Ram.
The next word is Jaya.
Jaya.
And sometimes we say Jay, and sometimes we say Jaya, and sometimes we say Jai, is my name, and it means victory. So the full mantra is Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Let's say it together. Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. And just the other day I got a letter from a friend who's come to my kirtan camp, and she says, she was going through a really hard time. And she said, Jai, what mantra do you sing when you're going through a really hard time? And I said, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. And then I said, but the strange thing is, this is the same mantra that I sing when I'm really happy. So let's try it. I'm super thirsty and dry here. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram 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 Shri Ram Jaya
Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram Bolo
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Bolo Shri Ram Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Bolo Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Om Shri Rama Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram
Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya
Jai Jai Ram,
Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Bolo Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Bolo Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Bolo Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Bolo Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Jai 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 Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Let's sing together. Shri Ram, Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Shri Rama Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. So I keep my clock here, my phone is my clock, so I can know what time it is so that I don't go late because I want to leave room for Ramdev. But I just wanted to say that every day at 2:50, I get a text with a picture, a new picture of Hanuman. And if you Google Hanuman today, it's free, and you put your name on this fellow's mailing list, every day you'll get a new picture of Hanuman. And a lot of times the pictures are so beautiful. He does watercolors. It's his sadhana, and it's his service to share. So Hanuman today, I did, yeah. John, is that your little one? 2. Hi, little one. I think the most blissful experience of my life, and here I am, like previously just said, I'm not thinking about my bliss, my experiences. But that being said, my most blissful experience of my life was when my boy was, between 1 and 4 years old, and he could fit on my lap while I was playing the harmonium, and he would zone out, and while I was singing, and it was just like, oh, this is what the ancient mystics were talking about. What the celibate ancient mystics were talking about. It was pure bliss. Well, I know that we have tonight and we have tomorrow also. What an amazing, amazing 2 days. But rather than just talking about Bhakti, which I sort of thought I would do, but I don't feel like doing, I was wondering if anybody has any questions. They're not necessarily that I can answer every question, but just here we are in this tent, this amazing tent, and we're here celebrating Maharaji, celebrating Hanuman. And of course, I've never, ever, ever pushed or asked or hoped that anyone else would, become attached to Maharaji the way I'm attached to Maharaji. But it seems to happen, but it doesn't have to happen to everyone. But here we are in this heart space, and I just was wondering if anybody had any questions.
Thank you, Jai.
Yeah.
So there's a shrine to Sri Siddhi Ma being built here on the other side of the pond, and in her honor. And I have an intense love and longing for her. It's the strongest feeling I've ever felt, and having her darshan meant more to me than any other experience. So I'm curious, there's something to be said about that. I don't know what it is or who she is, but I am curious what longing has taught you, and because I miss her dearly, like what your experience of her was, meaning like how was she able to do what she did and live such a influential, powerful, loving life of service. And you told a story already about the humility and the upliftment and empowerment that she brought, but how was she able to do all that?
Well, part of that is completely unanswerable. I mean, no, for real. And there's a couple of questions in there. And the first thing you asked was, if I remember right, what has longing done for you or something? Is that what you said? And I would say that my whole life, one of the, primary emotions that I've experienced is longing. And I feel that one of the things that Maharaji gave me was not the ability, that's not the word, but he changed that longing into, it didn't go away, but into spiritual fuel, kind of. And that before that, the longing was just trauma. And then Maharaji turned it into the energy that clings to God's feet. And I laugh all the time and still consider myself a depressive person because that longing is always there, which is a poignant feeling. And it's not necessarily a happy feeling. But at the same time, I feel so much grace and presence in my life. And that's a beautiful, joyful feeling. So what has longing done for me? It's propelled my music and my singing and pretty much every choice that I've made. And well, not every choice. but every big choice in my life. So now, the other part of your question, I, who was/is Siddhima, I can't begin to answer, but I can only just suppose, I guess is the way to put it, that her love for Maharaji was/is so immense, so intense, so complete, that her energy and Maharaji's energy, although they're quite different, their energies are very different, but they came together in, I mean, I sit with Siddhima and I feel Maharaji's, this ocean of Maharaji. And of course I spent a lot more time with Siddhima than I did with Maharaji, but not that time. The time is, you could spend 1 minute and your life will be totally changed. She is mother to me, the complete mother. And she is to me the doorway to Maharaji, as Hanuman is the doorway to Ram. So, but who she is, again, who Maharaji is, these are questions that perhaps even the greatest sages can't answer. I loved being with Siddhima so much. Because then, just to continue, when I was with Maharaji, I was 19, and I was extremely shy, and his presence was so huge that almost, well, it was different. When I was with Siddhima, I was a little bit older, and I was able to ask her questions. I was able to talk to her. So there was that as well, just for me, But, Maharaji and Siddhima didn't die. They changed up something. But
I'm new to all this, and I want to know who Siddhima was, or is.
no, that's it. Great. Siddhima and Hanumandas and Raghu add to this, if you want to. Siddhima was a devotee of Neem Karoli Baba. Her husband was one of Maharaji's early devotees. And when her husband died, she, as a widow, as well as several other widows, moved into the temple and served Maharaji and took care of him. Made his food for him, did his wash for him, did everything for him. And they were all extremely elevated souls. And Siddhima, perhaps, I don't like to even say this because who am I to judge the elevation of an elevated, But when Maharaji died, Siddhima kind of took care of his kids, his people, his family. She took care of the ashrams and made sure that they ran in perfect, beautiful, pristine ways. And she, as a mother, tended to us. It's kind of like, I don't know, you might not have ever read the Ramayana. Do you know the Ramayana story? Okay, so there's one point where Rama is exiled, and his brother is given the task of running the kingdom, but his brother refuses to be the king because his brother is so devoted to Rama. His brother's name was Bharat. So what Bharat did was he took Rama's sandals, he went outside of the city limits and built a little sadhu hut and made a throne and put Rama's sandals on the throne. And for 13 years, he ruled the kingdom, but just by referring everything to Rama's sandals. So in a way, to me, Siddhima was ruling the kingdom, so to speak, through Maharaji's blanket.
Maharaji was across the lake from the hotel, Evelyn Hotel in Nainital, that we stayed at, and he told this to this isn't second, this is K.C. Tiwari, who was one of our mentors in India. And he said, and Siddhima was living when her husband, I believe, was still alive, but she was still living at this hotel, the India hotel, right? And he said, across the lake is Durga. A number of times he referred to her that way. And as far as we know, like Jai is saying, being in that moment with her, here was a being that never, and I just said this to Hanuman Das, ever thought about herself 1 millisecond. It was all, what could she do for us? And that's something you'll never forget, because it's rare. Never mind enlightenment, or what, like Jai said, what do we know about levels and all that? But the reality is this being had nothing going on, no self-desire, no self-reference, no me.
And she left your body 6 years ago?
2017.
2017? 7 years ago. Okay, Kristen.
I have a curtain question. I'm realizing that sometimes, like, I love to sing, but I also realize that it doesn't necessarily sound good to a trained ear. So I've been trying to learn how to, like, sing on key and sing properly. But when I do, I totally, like, lose the feeling because it's all in my head. Any words of wisdom with singing kirtan, like, how to sound good to the people around you, but also really dive deep into your heart.
Did everybody hear that question? That's a great and very, very multi-level question. So starting backwards, if I can, like, let go of caring, do I sound good to everyone? The more that I can drop that, the more better experience I have. The more that the energy can come through. And that being said, I have spent many years, and I still do it, in a very, very, very gentle way. It didn't used to be so gentle to myself, but now I do it in a very gentle way, practicing my raga scales and my intonation. But it's not to be more proper. It's just because I know when my voice is really hitting the notes that I want it to hit, it's such a beautiful feeling. And I know that feeling is transmitted. But that's, everybody who sings kirtan has a different approach. And I think getting rid of the word proper and getting rid of the word, the idea, easier said than done, of course, but getting rid of the idea, how do I sound to others? Like, it's really, aesthetics are really important, I feel, in devotion. But it's not aesthetics to anyone else's ears. It's am I singing the most beautiful melody I can sing for Maharaji? Am I singing that phrase in the most beautiful way to express my heart to Maharaji? It does, you see guys in India, old men, who start saying, they say, I'm going to sing a raga for you, and they start singing. And it's the worst thing you could ever hear. But then you look at them, and they're completely enraptured by their own prayer. And that's when I consider aesthetics, that's what I am considering. It's like if you're say you're going to pick some flowers for Peter one day, you're going to pick the most beautiful flowers you can pick for him, but not what he or she thinks are the most beautiful flowers, but what perhaps Peter would think would be the most beautiful flowers. So when I speak about aesthetics, that's what I mean. Self-consciousness, it's really hard to get over self-consciousness, and I almost always, this sounds so strange, but almost always when I sit down, not when I'm sitting down at home by myself, but when I sit down with a microphone and a monitor, and the notes come out of my voice, out of my mouth, my first response is, Jai, why are you even doing this? It's crazy. I'm so happy until I hear myself. But then I just say, like, back to this very original conversation that we were having. It's like, okay, man, I've heard you say that so many times, and this is not about you. It's not about me. Let me do my service. And then usually it goes away. That screaming voice of self-judgment goes away. But it hasn't left my life, and I don't expect it to. I mean, it'd be awesome if it did, but my expectation is it'll be with me forever, and I'll just like, oh, I hear you. I've heard you before. Bye-bye. And I practice. So, yeah, I also practice, and I enjoy my practicing. If I'm not enjoying my practicing, I stop. And I'm not practicing to get better. I'm practicing just to find it more better, more inner intonation. I sat with my teacher, Ali Akbar Khan, on and off for 40 years. And he never once did I hear him comment negatively about anyone's voice. But he did say, you're a little flat, you're a little sharp, you should work more on being in tune. He'd say that. But the quality of someone's voice, he never, ever, ever said anything negative about, because I think there was an understanding. This is the voice that God gave me, so it's got to be good enough.
Hi. I'm curious to know if you have a practice to fuel your devotion through the day. I don't know if you sing every day. Like I remember being in Ram Dass's house in Maui and the pictures all over. No, that's a practice. I don't know. I'm just curious, what is your practice to fuel your devotion?
Are you Brazilian?
I'm Mexican.
Mexican is the accent. Well, I have a specific set of things that I do each day, and but it's not big, It's not like this huge discipline. But I have a set of prayers and simple things and offerings that I do every night before I go to bed, and one of them is the Hanuman Chalisa, of course, and I was so committed to it. And sometimes I do it fast without that much feeling, and sometimes I do it slow with more feeling. But I never not do it unless I'm like really sick. And I have some simple prayers that I say every morning as soon as I wake up. So that's that like kind of little bookends. And then the day, well, being a musician, I don't have every day is a little different. And, some days I'm working hard, sometimes I'm lazy as can be. But I spend some time every day chanting. I spend some time every day with my mala, saying Ram, Ram, Ram. And then the most important thing and the most hard thing is that I try to be kind to the people around me. I try, Nubi and I are married for 23 years, and of course we have arguments, but we try never to cross a line in our arguments. And I fail, I mean, just in life, I'm not saying I'm good at being kind all the time, but that's what I want to be. I don't care anything about spiritual enlightenment. I really want to be able to live a life of kindness, and to try, like in even a teensy small way, to make the world better. And each one of us has our own. There's no one way that manifests. So for me, that's what the devotional practice is. And really, that stuff is more important, I feel. But I got to do my commitment to my practices, or else I feel like I don't have any. Well, put it this way: the rope gets thin. The rope has never disappeared, even in years of alcoholism and stuff. But it was a thread. Maharaji never let the thread break. But when I do my practice consistently and with commitment, the thread becomes more like a real rope that I can hold on to.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Bhakti Das.
Because there's such a breadth of experience, I was wondering if you could talk a little about the impulse around coming to devotional singing. When I first went to my first Ram Dass workshop, I was horrified I was Jewish, and there were these Jewish people doing devotional singing, and it was Indian, and it was just like, get this away from me. This is, and so it was only, I came to it from like maybe 15 years later, my wife giving me Flow of Grace and it being, well, how do you thank Baba? So my impulse to sing was to say thank you. But I'm aware that I notice a lot of people are singing in order to get something to say thank you to. And all of the things about, well, how do I get it? And is it the music? Is it the singing? So just to talk about the breadth of experience, or your own, or what you've noticed around the impulse.
Thank you, Bhakti Das. This is a beautiful question also. But I think the answer to that question is completely unique to each person. Myself, well, first of all, I never wanted to sing because singing makes you vulnerable. And I wanted to play instruments, and I played instruments since I was little. But my teacher, Ali Akbar Khan, again, forced all of his students, he demanded that you study singing, Indian singing, because all music comes from the voice. So that was my first kind of edge into singing, but still I couldn't really wrap my head around it. But then I heard kirtan, and I was 17-ish, something like that, 16 maybe. And for me, the impulse was immediate. I loved it so much because I could be in it and not necessarily, the focus wasn't on me. I could just, sing with the group. And then what created this kind of passion around it for me was, I'm drowning, save me. I'm drowning, save me, save me, save me. Of course, over decades and decades, that's, there's many, many phases, and it changes and goes back, and so many different things. But I would say that's the original impulse, and that is still a part of it for me. I'm drowning, save me.
So this is a bit of a continuation of the question about practice. Up until now, it's something I say before, things that I think are etched in stone, but they're really not. I have had challenges keeping practices especially spiritual practice. In fact, only spiritual practice. In work, I'm able to be, to do things and continue to do them in a consistent way. With spirituality, I go through all these phases, and oftentimes when I'm doing them, they don't last that long. So I'm just it's resistance to practice on some level, for sure. Can you speak to that and how you overcome it?
Well, sharing my own experience, I don't think about overcoming it, but what I do think about is making a commitment, self-commitment, that is not so hard. There was a time when I was trying to sing 40 Hanuman Chalisas a day, and I lasted with that for maybe a week, and then I felt like I failed because this is what I had made this kind of vow. But the practices that I do now, well, just staying committed to anything in this world is not easy, as we know. But making a commitment that is not so hard has enabled me to stay completely consistent. And when I talk to people, who are very new at kirtan or chanting or spiritual practices, I say, why don't you spend 5 minutes a day chanting your favorite mantra? And if you don't have a melody and you don't have a mood, just say your favorite mantra. Maybe make a little corner where you'll have a candle, but you don't even have to. Why don't you spend 5 minutes? And then, because I believe fully that the seed of bhakti, the seed of devotion, the seed of I might say love and longing exists in everybody, but we need to like water it. And, that's a way to water it. And it's a way that you can remember to water it every day because it's not that hard. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And then I want to recall a conversation I had with Siddhima quite a long time ago that relates. And it's the flip side of what I just said. And I was talking to her. I was in not a great place in my life. And I was saying, I have so many work commitments. I have so much this. I have so much that I can barely ever find a time to do my practices. And she looked at me and she was very, she was no judging, nothing like that. She said, well, you'll keep doing your work and keep forgetting to do keep not doing your practice, and then you'll die. And that was like, wow. And she didn't say it, she couldn't say anything mean. She never said it with any meanness or any harshness, but it was just truth. It was just truth, So I think that's when I started realizing that I had to make my commitment, but I had to make it in a way that I would do it. Because we consistently can, quote, fail. And when we make a vow, it's good to keep the vow. So make an easy vow. And over years and years and years and years and years, the fulfillment of that vow is very profound. Okay, now we only have 6 minutes. Mangalamurati Marutanandan Sakala Mangalamulani Kandan Mangalamurati Marutanandan Sakala Mangalamulani Kandan Shri Guru Charan Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukuru Sudai Baranam Raghubara Bimala Jasu Chodai Akupalachari Pudihina Tanu Janike Sumaram Pavana Kumar Balabuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohin Arahu Kalesha Vikar Siyavara Ramachandra Parajay Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jaya Kapi Sati Loka Ujagara Ramadutta Atulita Baladama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Vikrama Bajarangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Kesangi Kanchana Varana Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hata Vajra Dvaja Viraja Kande Muja Janeo Saja Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandan Teja Pratapa Mahajagabandan Vidyavana Guniyati Chatura Ramakaja Karibeko Atu Prabhu Charitra Sunibeko Rasiya Ramalakana Sita Manabasiya Sukshma Rupa Darisiya Indikawa Pikata Rupa Darilanga Jarawa Bhima Rupa Dariya Sura Sanhare Ramachandra Ke Kada Samhare Raya Sajivana Lakana Jiyaye Shri Raghubira Rashiyura Lai Raghupati Ki Hibaho Tabarai Tuma Mama Priya Bharatai Samabai Sahasa Barana Tumaro Jasagavan Asakahi Shri Pati Kanta Lagavan Sanakatika Brahmadi Munisa Narada Sarada Sahita Ahisa Jamakumbera Digapala Jahante jana paravani Viyotahi madhura palajani Pravo mudrika mili mukamahi Chalari langi gaye chara janahi Durgama kaja jagat ke jete Sugamanu graha tumare tete Rama duware tumara kovare Hotana agya binu paisare Saba sukalahe tumhare sharana Tumara kshaka kahu ko darana Apana teja samharo ape Tina loka hanka kampe Bhuta pisacha nikatana hinave Mahabhira jabanama sunave Nase roga hare sabapira Jabata nirantara hanumata bira Sankata se hanumana churave Manakrama bachana jana jolave Sabapara rama tapasvi raja Tinake kaja sakala tumasaja Ora manorata joko ilave Soyamita jivana palapave Charana yuga paratapa tumhara He parasirha jagata ujiyara Sadhu santa ke tumhara kovare Asura nikandana rama tulare Ashta siri no nidike data Asvara dina janaki mata Rama rasayana tumhare pasa Sada raho raghupati ke dasa Tumhare bachana rama ko pawe Janama janama ke dukha visarave Anta kala raghubara pura jai Jahan janma hari bhakta kahai Devata chitta nararai Hanumata se sarva sukha karai Samgata kate mite sabapira Chosimare Hanumata balabira Jai 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 Hanumana gosai Kripa karahu guru deva kinai Jo satabara parata karakoi Chutai bandi mahasukha hoi Joya bare Hanumana chalisa Hoya siddhi saki gorisa Tulasi dasa sadari chera Ki jenat hridaya mahadera Pavanatanaya sankataharana Mangalamuratirupa Rama Lakshmana Sita Sahita Hridaya Basahu Surabhupa Siyawara Ramachandra Parajai Sharana Pawana Sutta Hanuman ki jai Shumapati Mahadeva ki jai Shri 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 Bhavanim Karolu Santa Maharaj ki jai Shri 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 Jagadambe Siddhi Ma ki jai Thank you all.